Nationalism was the cause of many great wars. It is a sense of national consciousness. It exalts one nation above all others and placing primary emphasis on promotion of its culture and interests as opposed to those of other nations or separational group. In this short video, we will briefly talk about Soviet nationalism in the Cold War with the US. The Cold War was a state of geopolitical tension after World War II between powers in the Eastern Bloc, which were the Soviet Union and its satellite states, and powers in the Western Bloc, which were the United States, its NATO allies, and others.
The main and unique reason of this war was the tense relationship of these two powers. The Soviet Union resented the US for their delayed entry into World War II, as well as their decade-long refusal to treat the Soviet Union as a legitimate part of the international community. For the American part, they had long been wary of Soviet communism and concerned about Russian leader Joseph Stalin's tyrannical rule of his own country.
The first thing that happened was a deadly arms race. In 1949, the Soviets tested an atomic bomb of their own, and in response to that, President Truman announced that the US would build an even more destructive atomic weapon, the hydrogen bomb. The first H-bomb test was in the Adriatic Atoll in the Marshall Islands. It had the power to destroy half of Manhattan. Subsequent American and Soviet tests spewed poisonous radioactive waste into the atmosphere.
Apart from that, space exploration served as another arena for Cold War competition, and the first one to be surpassed was the Americans. On October 4th, 1957, Soviet launched Sputnik, the world's first artificial satellite. It was an unpleasant surprise to the US. In 1958, the US launched its own satellite, Explorer 1. Later, the US took the lead by sending the first man into space, Alan Shepard, and the first man to moon, Neil Armstrong.
The Soviet Union made the first military action by backing North Korean People's Army to invade its pro-Western neighbor to the south. Truman sent the American military into Korea, but the war dragged into a stalemate and ended in 1953. When Richard Nixon became the president, he began to implement a new approach to international relations. He encouraged the United Nations to recognize the Communist Chinese government and establish diplomatic relations with Beijing. At the same time, he adopted a policy of relaxation toward the Soviet Union. In 1972, he and Soviet Premier Leonid Brezhnev signed the Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty, which prohibited the manufacture of nuclear missiles by both sides.
Despite Nixon's efforts, the Cold War heated up again under President Ronald Reagan, when he worked to provide financial and military aid to anti-communist government and insurgency around the world. Even as Reagan fought communism in Central America, however, the Soviet Union was disintegrating. In response to severe economic problems and growing political famine in the Soviet Union, Premier Mikhail Gorbachev introduced two policies that ratified Russia's relationship to the rest of the world: glasnost, or political openness, and perestroika, or economic reform. Soviet influence in Eastern Europe waned. In 1989, every other communist state in the region replaced the government with a communist one. In November of that year, the Berlin Wall, the most visible symbol of the decade-long Cold War, was finally destroyed. The Cold War was over. Politically, the Soviet Union was divided into 15 constituent or union republics.
Soviet nationalism was shown through their massive, relentless efforts to surpass American and prove the power of the communist system. In conclusion, Russia made a separating nationalist movement, and the division of the Soviet Union was the result. Thank you for watching.